So, Tim Burton's Ed Wood is more than just a biographical film about the famous low-budget filmmaker. It's a lot of things. It's a story about passion. It's a story about following your interests and what you want to do in spite of and in lieu of everything that's going against you. It's an ode to being, marching to the beat of your own drum, being different, being unusual, and pursuing your passions at any cost. It's a celebration of oddballs and misfits, of people that don't march to societal norms, people who don't allow discouragement to get them down, and people who look past any negativity to see positivity wherever they can find it. And that, among other things, is pretty inspiring to me. And that's why I wanted to talk about it. So anyways, for those who don't know, like I said, Ed Wood is a biographical film about a famous filmmaker whose name was Ed Wood. He is notorious for making what's considered some of the worst films in the history of Hollywood, the most famous of which is Plan 9 from Outer Space. And he was known for very low-budget productions with hammy acting, incomplete scenes, shoddy editing, very obvious special effects that didn't look convincing, sets that were cheap and falling apart, a complete lack of realism in his details and sets, and for his dogged determination to finish a movie and release it at any cost, chiefly being very cheap costs, because he worked very cheaply. But personally, he was an interesting guy, and Johnny Depp plays him very well. In fact, this is actually, in my opinion, one of the best performances Depp has ever done in a movie, and it's definitely one of, if not my very favorite Tim Burton movie. I can't talk. Anyway, so this movie is kind of an account about Ed in Hollywood trying to make his way through these low budget films. It biographically talks about the making of some of his most famous movies, including Plan 9 from Outer Space, a movie made called Glenn or Glinda, as well as a few others. Wood worked famously with the famous horror actor Bela Lugosi long after Lugosi's career was already kind of dead at this point. He brought his career back to be in these low-budget productions, and he tried to basically just get his movies seen. He just wanted an audience, and he deeply, deeply loved filmmaking. He deeply loved the craft. He deeply loved telling stories, and he wasn't going to allow anyone to stand in the way of that pursuit. And this movie kind of dramatizes that. In addition to Johnny Depp, the cast in this is fantastic. Sarah Jessica Parker plays his girlfriend, who is also an actress in his films. Bill Murray is hilarious as this guy, whose name was Bunny, who was in some of his films. Martin Landau plays Bela Lugosi perfectly, like spot on. This is definitely a good movie for a lot of reasons. One, it's technically very well done. Like, it's one of the best Tim Burton movies. Like, I love Burton's early work, and this is a shining example of how he once was a very good filmmaker and told very interesting stories that he himself was passionate about before he became, in my opinion, a soulless sellout and a parody of himself. You can tell Burton is very fascinated by Ed Wood and wants to tell a story. And like an Ed Wood movie, it is a more glossy version of Wood's life as opposed to the more kind of dark, bitter, sad way Wood's life actually turned out in real life. This movie ends in a more Hollywood-style happy ending that is kind of fitting for the tone. The movie is shot in black and white as an ode to the time period, as well as most of Wood's films were in black and white. It's kind of like Burton is kind of imitating Wood's style a little bit, but filtered through a little more of a mainstream lens, and definitely turning it into more of a more digestible kind of movie. But it's definitely great. And seeing how Depp plays Wood is this kind of like almost cartoony, like chipper, like nothing gets him down, and he's just so like determinedly positive and optimistic about everything that you can't help but put a smile on your face. It's very charming, and I love that he, no matter what anyone tells him, he's like, well, we can work around that. Like he's just very like he's very happy, and he's just happy to be doing this. Like he's just loving every minute of being able to direct these movies. Like he's working with like this crew of misfit actors and like production crew. They're trying to shoot scenes cheaply and quickly without permits. And they're like, that was a great shot. It was perfect. And then the camera guy's like, well, don't you want another for safety? He's like, what's there to protect? It's perfect. It's just great. Like, it's, but at the same time, it's not over the top. Like, it is comedic in a lot of scenes, and it is has kind of a comedic tone overall, but it's not a farcical movie by any means. There's a grounding of kind of low key realism as well as comedy. The comedy is balanced and definitely has more of a realistic kind of dry wit. So it's not a live action cartoon, but like I said, Depp plays Wood almost like a cartoon character in the real world, almost. There's a scene where this distributor is like, on the phone, and he's like cussing him out, like, what the fuck is this? And he was like, I take it you didn't like the picture. It's great. And he's like, I'm not gonna get this distributed. And says, you didn't. And then there's another scene he's talking to another distributor, and he's like, you didn't like my picture? Well, the next one will be better. Like, it's very great, and for people who are aspiring to get into filmmaking, I definitely recommend watching this. It's very interesting just to kind of watch the craft of how these movies are done, and even if it is kind of humorous and how low budget and low key they were made. But two, it's kind of, very inspiring to want to be filmmakers who want to get out there and make, their own, lower budget movies, and kind of show them that no matter what happens, you can persevere and go through and hone your craft and get to do what you want to do. And I think that's great. And I think that would actually apply for any artist in any field. So, whether you're an artist or not, I definitely recommend Ed Wood. It's fantastic. I highly recommend it. And on a personal note, I just think it's fantastic. I find it very inspiring to me because, even though I'm not a filmmaker, I do other things, especially write. I make these YouTube videos. I'll do other things. And even though sometimes I feel like I don't do the best job, and I will admit right now some of my videos are shit, but it doesn't stop me. I don't make a shitty video and I'm like, okay, that's it. Throwing my hands up and never doing this again. No, like I kind of think to myself, like, well, it says, well, my next one will be better. So it's kind of that attitude, and like taking a cue from that, optimism of like, yeah, you did a bad product, but it doesn't mean you can't do better the next time. And, it kind of keeps me going, and that kind of keeps me improving my own work and other things I do. And I'm gradually improving, little by little. I think these videos are a little better than they used to be. Other things I do, like photography, are better than they used to be. My writing is a lot better than it used to be. So, I'm growing and I'm progressing, and, and we all have our down moments where we put out a bad product, or we create a piece of work that we don't think is that good or meets our own standards or criteria, but we gotta persevere through that. And like when I have moments like that where I think, well, this is a piece of shit, I fucked that up, I always think, well, at least I can do better. And I'm not gonna let it stop me. It's not gonna let me hold me down from creating and improving my work and improving myself. So, I find it very inspiring for that reason as well. So on a technical level, it's a fantastic film as far as its actual filmmaking. On an acting level, it's fantastic. The cast is great. They deserve to win all the awards. And like I said, it's one of the best performances of Johnny Depp's career. Probably the best. Story-wise, it's very inspirational and, fun. It's funny. It's kind of celebrating, like I said, these oddballs characters. It's not making fun of them or pointing out them, treating them like freaks. It's like more like what John Waters does. He celebrates these outsiders and, just shows who they are, and he loves them. And that's what Burton does in this movie. And just on a personal inspiration, you know, something I go back to often, and I just tell myself like, hey, you know, you just keep moving. You know, I watch this and I'm just like, this is inspiring for anybody and anything. You know, not just art, but just in any area of life, no matter what you do. Like I think a lot of people could learn from Ed in this movie to just not let things get you down. You know, life is shit sometimes. Sometimes we go through shitty situations. Sometimes we do things that we don't like or think is not good enough. But, we just got to push through it and keep going. So, anyways, thanks for listening to me ramble about Ed Wood. I just want to do a quick little video on that, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.